very good morning and welcome to Smart Man's Business. I'm Anji Barije, and of course it's yet another week. Welcome back from the weekend. How has it been? Hope you really had quite some great time there, and also something very, very appropriate when it comes to planning for the coming week. Yes, as you know, the world keeps on rotating all around, regardless of what we should be going through. Well, quite lots of events have been happening throughout the country. Of course, some are sad, some had really very sad experiences, well, whereas others were actually having the joy of life. But anyway, that's what makes life what it is, showing you that you really need to live every other day to your best, making sure that you bring out that particular aspect. And above all, you need to understand the mind of purpose, the aspect of purpose as to why we're here. And well, life has to go move on, despite the fact that you need to care about yourself. But there is also that you need to work out for, which caters for other people. Well, we're heading straight into the fresh week. And as Smart Man's Business, we are back to give you all this latest business-related information, which is quite very vital, like I always say, when it comes to decision-making and implementation at the same time. So this is your daily kickstart. I'm Anju Barija this morning. And well, before we get into any further discussions, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform, which are going to be opening at exactly 8:15 a.m. today. It's a new week, definitely. The markets have to open. Yes, they will open at 8:15 a.m. and they'll be closing at 3:15 p.m. Now, this is effective from today up to Friday. So now the question is, how do I be a part of this? How do you participate into, of course, buying trades, buying stocks? Simply dial *292#, and this will avail you with quite lots of options where you can actually buy government bonds and securities for just as little as 15,000 Ghana shillings. Yes, with 15,000 Ghana shillings, life will be made much more easy. But of course, you can still choose to invest more than that. But Zabo simply says, well, start with 15,000 and life will be made much more easy and friendly for you. Now the markets, like I said, opening 8:15 a.m. till 3:15 Monday to Friday, except on the weekends where you can access these markets, but at least you have the rest of the days to capitalize. Now Zabo says, my money, my future, and Alltex East Africa says, do something new. Well, now heading straight into our morning call. Of course, this is matters to do with employment. Of course, work-related issues, as employers are advised, that is to cater to accommodate women. That's who breastfeed at the workplaces. And of course, this is to increase their productivity at work. And there should be places, of course, for them to breastfeed. Yes, something which, well, some companies, of course, have tried to really associate positively with this aspect, finding ways they can actually cater for the breastfeeding women. Of course, those that have just given birth, they're a little bit vulnerable, and it really matters a lot how they treat them at work. Of course, some of them get the maternal leaves for quite some time, but despite the fact that you live out there, you need to cater for another person that is a part of you. And well, and that is regarding that. And of course, some of them, there is fear of losing their jobs. And of course, some of the women leave their babies at home, which is risky. That is in future, as this affects the growth of the children. And remember, like we always say, these are the future of the nation. Let's get into this discussion.
We know very well that the first southern days of babies, from the time they are born to when they make a southern days, is very critical for them in terms of their care, in terms of their feeding. But we have seen, because of work pressures, mothers not being able to breastfeed children for even 3 months. Don't even talk about 2 years, but even 3 months. They just breastfeed for a little while. Even as soon as the children are born, they are brought into supplementation instead of giving them exclusive breastfeeding. That has compromised a lot the health of our children. And no wonder our statistics show that 55% of our adults today in this country did suffer from starting when they were young, when they were less than 5 years. And it's because some of those kind of practices that have not given attention to the children that we are producing as a country.
Nutrition is a multi-sectoral thing. As Ministry of Health, we are continuing seeing most of the malnourished children that come to our health facilities are those that have been abandoned by their mothers because they have to work. And they miss out on that exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. So we are working with the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, because they're the ones that have the mandate on labor laws and all those kinds of things. And the law is being worked on, and that's work in progress. But we have forwarded it to them, and they have taken it up.
Our current legal regime provides companies or employers to give maternity leave of at least 3 months. And this has not been properly enforced, especially in the private sector. It works a lot in government institutions and other institutions, but the private sector has been kind of limited. I want to appeal to the private sector that indeed for us to have a productive workforce, we must invest in it. You won't demand for good marketeers, you won't demand for good general managers, you won't demand for good accountants when your own institution, your own private entity, your own organization does not really invest in the well-being of children. When your female employees give birth, kindly provide them sufficient time. Give them paid maternity leave for them to take time to nurture and breastfeed their children.
Well, that's regarding, of course, employers and in terms of how they treat the breastfeeding mothers. Well, good morning. And now, of course, at this time, I'm joined with Masi Katsime as we are here to drive your business. Well, Masi, a very good morning. How are you?
Yes, a very good morning to you, Uganda. Hope you had a lovely weekend. Yes, indeed, it's a Monday, and it is the 22nd of May.
The weekend was lovely.
Very lovely, I must say.
Well,
I can see, it's very interesting how people come from the weekend, and Mondays, people are always vibrant, And,
vibrant. Yeah. But some people are dull, actually.
Depending on where you spend the night, actually, on Sunday.
Well, depending where you spend the night. In most cases, because, refreshing back and coming, energizing. Well, just in a few, talking about breastfeeding mothers, how they should be treated at work. Some of them actually, even despite the fact that they have been in that maternal leave, there is that aspect whereby the way they are treated at work is not really fair. Probably they're not even allowed to come with their babies at work, so they have to leave them with somewhere. Find ways, and something which is not okay. It affects the babies. But however, if the employers can cater for breastfeeding mothers, they can.
And probably put up like a nursery. Daycare that would actually help. I would like to actually emphasize this. If every organization set up a place, just a small room, for breastfeeding mothers, lactating mothers, it would be actually it would help them bond with their babies, because it's unfortunate when you have 2 months of leave and eventually you have to take your kid to daycare. You never get to bond with your children, and of course you have this fear. You have to leave early. I've seen instances where women are during their leave, even if they are C-section, they spend like a month, then they go to work, because your job is not you're not on probably those who are in the private sector. You're not guaranteed if your job is going to be there. Once you go for paternity leave, that's it. You're replaced there and then. Yeah, so we should consider women actually when it comes to that. It's natural for a woman to get pregnant and that's so we should consider them and give them their time to heal. When it's time for them to get back on their feet, definitely they will compensate for the time spent away from work.
Okay. Well, that's something very great. Actually, that's one of the aspects that stakeholders were advocating for, at least vacating places where actual women can breastfeed when they're at work. Despite the fact that they're giving birth, they don't feel the pressure, so they feel the love and that acceptance, regardless of their state of being vulnerable. Let me say that vulnerability state that they be in at the moment. Well, now let's get to take a look at what's happening in the press, what's making headlines, the Daily Monitor, the East African, and of course, on the New Vision. And definitely, me and Masika Tim are going to be concurrently, of course, visiting the different sites here. Well, what do we have in the New Vision on the top there?
Looking at today's paper, New Vision, we see Makerere hikes entry points. The students are in vacation, so definitely. I don't know why, but Makerere University, the entry points are usually higher, and it affects some students because you are probably aiming for a certain course, and then it's like on 40 points you have like 37. You won't make it through. Yes, you won't definitely make it through.
But it's a world of survival for the fittest.
Oh my God! So that is why people have enrolled actually in private institutions lately, because they feel like these government, these public institutions do not give them, the attention they need with the courses they applied for. So they go for these public and private institutions because they know. They will give them automatically. Now, government gives 1,614 free minor land titles to Kagadi residents. Now, the Minister of Lands, Judith Navakova, hands a land title to resident Barnabas Tinka Simire. This is not the MP, the MP of Boyaga West. This was actually over the weekend. Nabakova said government compensated absent landlords to enable the 2014 bona fide occupants regularize their tenancy and get certificates of minor titles for the Vivanja.
Very, very wonderful there. Now taking a look at the Daily Monitor here on the top page. Of course, we see Ugandan degrees rejected abroad.
Wow.
But of course, that's how it's been. If you want to go abroad, if you want to work abroad, you have to study for like some other 2 years. But however, some private universities have actually taken it to another whole state whereby they are partnering with universities in Europe, whereby if a student can actually study, for example, you can study 2 years in Uganda and then you study 1 year from that university. So when you graduate, you have a degree from that university and you also have a degree from the university home. So you have 2 degrees.
This has actually affected, it's actually affecting Ugandans who come. When it comes to engineering, architecture, they need you to have at least sit for a certificate within Uganda for you to be certified as.
Actually, certificates are becoming a thing of late. I mean, if you have a degree, you need to strengthen, to establish it with a few certificates there. But of course, some can choose to go for masters as a way of establishment and a PhD. That is if where be necessary. Well, now still further, of course, Manchester United. Manchester City, crowned champions. I know I'm a Manchester United fan, so whenever I see that word Manchester,
I am in tears because.
Of course, you'll be checking out more. That's in the sports section. Well, congratulations to them. It's been quite known to an easy journey from all the way there. Now, further, as we take a look at what's happening within the Daily Monitor, of course, here we see that is a Bank of Uganda boss rallies, chevening alumni to change Uganda. Of course, we shall be getting more of those details. And maybe just a brief on what the top heading was like. Foreign universities reject Ugandan degrees. Now, the future of thousands of current students and recent graduates at Ugandan universities is in danger, as of course it emerged that courses they are pursuing or completed have expired. And what are these courses that have expired? Actually, there's a possibility that you're doing a course at university and that course has expired.
Part of that.
And you see now this is aspect of the fact that we are known, we shouldn't pursue education to be trained for Uganda's system, but we are looking at we should be prepared for the world at large, you know, and all that. And now this is something which private universities have actually embraced. You know, yeah, private universities. I know some.
I believe they still have those small courses that are meant to be phased out and may be included within the big courses. You know, the university has Makerere University has tried to, you know, do away with some small courses that were, you know, that can be course units to certain courses.
Okay. Wow. You know, I was looking at some of the courses that have expired here. I think.
No, these are the points, the cut-off points.
Cut-off points, eh?
Yes.
And now here it's a list still further in the national news. It reveals you the courses that are expired. So you go through them and see where you fall.
Before you apply.
before you apply. That is from Makerere University and so many. But one thing I know for sure, one course that is on point is IT. That doesn't expire.
That is really important, actually. We need that.
Okay.
So looking at the cut-off points, we see actually, this is very high.
Yes.
For business administration, we see it is at 46.8.
46.8.
Wow. How are people going to I must say, Makerere University is going to be for the
break.
Just don't go there.
For smart.
Because if you're planning to pursue a course of business administration, that means your points have to be 46.
46, yeah.
That means you have to have scored 18 points and above.
Okay.
So it's interesting. When it comes to science, agriculture, engineering, 47.6, that is for males, and 43.0. Dental surgery, 46.8. For ladies, 45.2. Anyway, get yourself a new vision so that you could get to know where you lie. You know, I feel like they built us on how to calculate these points.
Do I even still remember that?
You get your O levels and add up with your Form 6 or something like that.
And you divide.
Divide something like that.
Okay, very interesting. It's been quite a while. Yes. Well, now let's head straight to Ginger Road traffic lights, of course. As we take a look at what's really happening, that is in the world of traffic, and it's a Monday, as always, and it seems one of the tricky days when it comes to traffic congestion. And of course, as you can take a look there, that is the access route coming that connects all the way to industrial area, Chibuli, that there is 6th Street, 7th Street, and 8th Street at the same time, according to the look of things here. So that is what we are getting to observe there. It's quite a little bit a calm situation, I'll say. Slightly mild as compared to some of the days. And we know that actually some of the schools have started today. Yes, of course, not all. Of course, the official date will be next week. But it's been one of the reasons which explain why we've been experiencing quite not so heavy jam in the morning, because that leads to some sort of a congestion when schools actually start to operate there. So the situation at Access Road, so if you're coming in from Chibuli, of course the residents of those areas, 60th Street, 8th Street, and of course you have plans to come to town or any other destinations, you may be actually leaving there and you're heading towards areas like Nakawa. You're probably crossing over to Mtinda, or you're even heading straight to Wandega, you're crossing through, you're heading to Nakasero. Well, it's quite okay. It's not really as congested as much. Yes, it's a Monday morning. Of course, the days when people really rush to work, one of the most serious days when it comes to business execution, and also when it comes to reporting to work duties. Now, as we take a look at Kampala Road, of course, linking straight to Ginger Road, it's a free lane there. It's quite a very free lane. There is nothing happening there. So if you're coming in from areas, any place, and probably going to connect towards Ginger Road traffic lights, you're probably heading to Nakawa, you're heading to Mtina, heading to Ugolobi, you could be even coming from Wandega, and you decide to pass via these routes, and you don't connect via the Yusuf Lule route, but you choose to come up to from Kampala Road straight. You connect there and you come straight. Yes, it's going to be quite favorable for you. And so many other places from the suburbs of town. And your destination is Nakawa and Tinda, Bugolobi. It's quite fair for you as we are observing here. Not so many border borders as we take a look at things. And a few passers by, what we can call pedestrians, that are walking on the streets, heading towards the different destinations. And that is something to really look into. Yes, the traffic this morning, of course, vehicles held in 3 to 5 minutes intervals before they are laid off to get to other different destinations. Yes, but of course, it's the traffic in full control, not the lights controlling themselves. Now, of course, taking a look at the Yusuf Fulay, connecting straight to Garden City, all the way to the Gulf Coast to Fairway. Yes, it's kind of very free, and it's always free. And actually, some people, when they're coming towards Nakawa area, they make shortcuts. You can connect all the way from Nile Avenue, you link to Parliamentary Avenue, and you come on straight here, and you link towards your destination. Because sometimes it's unpredictable how long you're going to be held at the traffic lights when the officers stop you. But here, it's okay. You just connect all the way from, you rotate around Garden City, and you head towards the different destinations. So, yeah, that is the traffic atmosphere as you getting to observe that. And if you're just setting off from home, maybe probably later on in the later hours of the day, it will increase slightly, but according to the look of things, it's not really as bad as you can actually anticipate. You could probably be scared. So yeah, and yes, now switching our eyes away from the Yusuf Fulay Road, now we take a look at Ginger Road. Yes, of course, linking all the way to Port Bell. It's the reason as why we see that is because this lane is carrying two sets of vehicles. There are vehicles that are coming in from Nakawa, Boyogere, and also there are those vehicles that are coming in from Port Bell Road, that is connecting from Luzira, Chitintale, Bugolobi, and now they're also coming to these areas. So that's why you see quite a huge fleet of vehicles there. But despite the fact that you'll be surprised that once they are held to leave, once they are set off free, you will be amazed how empty the lane will be looking like. But of course, at the look of things here, when you take a look, it seems like it's a congestion, but let's wait for them to be released. I think as we speak now, they have just been set to go. Because as you can take a look up there, connecting straight to Ginger Road, it's free. There's non-congested. In most cases, it's where we get to observe and get to know that actually this road is congested, but up is free. Yes, coming in from Ginger Road and also from Port Bell Road. So that is what we observe. Actually, probably the majority, the most jam might be that is towards Port Bell Road. But that is the situation. Mercy, how do you take a look at that?
Yeah, I feel like the traffic is not as...
it's not as serious.
It's flowing.
Yeah.
It's flowing. It doesn't last for longer compared to... I don't know, the last week and this week, I think people are not... Now, I feel like that it's increasing because of school-going children.
School-going children?
Yes.
Actually,
because they have to be at school by 7:30, something like that.
Actually, some schools make it 7:45, depending on the school policies there.
Yeah, but for the last week, we've been seeing a little bit of relaxation in traffic. But from today onwards,
it is starting to rise up a little bit.
And in the evening hours, it's going to be actually terrible.
Very terrible. All right. Well, 26 minutes past 7, and that is it for the traffic updates this morning. Well, now let's get into a short commercial break. But of course, before we get there, don't forget to trade markets on the Zab platform. Of course, which are going to be opening at exactly 8:15. Now, Zab is a platform for Maltans, which enables you to buy government bonds and securities for just as little as 15,000 Ghana shillings. Now, the markets open at 8:15 a.m. and closing at 3:15 p.m. East African time, Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays when you can access these markets. But at least you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some good profits for yourself, and life will be made much more easy and very efficient. Now, Weekends, like I said, you can't access the markets now like yesterday. They weren't open. But at least life can still really move on. Zabu has made this a reality. There is no excuse as to why you shouldn't own government bonds and securities with such an opportunity. He has just a few minutes, a few hours left for the markets to open. Zabu simply says, my money, my future. And All-Tex East Africa says, do something new. And now let's get into a short commercial break. And of course, when we return, we have what's happening around East Africa and, of course, the international community at large. Stick around. A very good morning.